Hello and welcome to Faith Talks. In today's program we'll be asking, is global warming an issue for Christians? Joining me in the discussion and ready to share their views and opinions are Patrick Johnson and Dr. Isabel Moraes. Global warming, is it really an issue for Christians? What do you think?
Well, I would say in that global warming affects the whole planet and we are on the planet, it surely definitely does affect Christians. It affects everybody really, so yeah, Christians do have some kind of responsibility and should be responding to it in some way.
Why should I be bothered to pay attention to global warming?
Okay, as Patrick said, we are in the planet, right? So we need to be concerned for the place where we live. After all, the planet Earth is our home. We cannot just go, okay, take a plane and travel into another planet if we are not happy with this one. So if we are part of this planet, I think we have a responsibility with the place where we live. So as a Christian, I think we have probably a bit more responsibility regarding to the people which are not believers.
But explain to me, global warming is a term I hear in the media all the time. I don't understand that. I mean, I think it's pretty cold here in England and it's hot in Africa and in Brazil where it should be warm. So what is this global warming?
Yeah, global warming basically always existed since the beginning of the existence of the planet. So to make the things in plain words, the global warming means when you raise the temperature around the Earth's surface, and that is crucial for us. So I would say that the global warming could be seen as a blanket that we have around our planet, which keep us warm. But if you think this as a humans, if you carry on putting more blankets and more blankets, what happened to us? We start sweating, and that's not a good sign. So this is what's happened to our planet. Always had the warm, the blanket, but due to the intense and excess of greenhouse gases, start getting more warmer and warmer, and this actually is what people in nowadays they call global warming, because we start getting the temperature starts rising and rising, and this doesn't mean that we are 20 degrees warmer than usual, but 1 degree in 100 years, 1 degree Celsius, it might bring quite a catastrophic consequences.
At the same time, if we go back to the 80s, I come from Scandinavia and we were reading there, we had so many cold winters. So the scientists was talking about another ice age. How do I know what to believe?
It's because when we talk about global warming, people just think about, okay, we are getting hotter and hotter, and that's not true. Global warming means, okay, the temperature of the planet is rising, but it might, because creates climate changes, this produces a variety of effects across the globe. So in certain parts will be hotter, right? In other parts will be wetter, and in other parts probably be colder.
So we probably live in a part that's going to be wetter and colder and at the moment, but we might want to have it a little bit warmer. Patrick, as a Christian or as a pastor, why should I worry about something called global warming? Because the earth is going to burn anyway. So is this just, gradually burning of the earth? What's going on?
Well, I think as a Christian, if we take what the Bible describes as true, then God created us as stewards of the earth. He told us to look after it, to take care of it. And so because he has put us in charge of the earth, we ought to be concerned with how we're looking after it. And the Bible says, when he comes back again, he's going to ask us, so how did you look after what I gave you? And if all we can show is a decimated planet that's had its climate change because we've been doing all kinds of things, it wouldn't look very good. So yeah, having that responsibility for the earth, being stewards of God, we should be pretty concerned about what's happening on the earth.
But can we do anything about it?
Yes, usually that's the problem. If you start analyzing the entire situation, because it's a global scale, usually we have the tendency to say, I cannot do anything. This is with the politicians or with the church leaders or with the leaders. however they are politicians, however church, however they are. And you think, how can I, a simple human being, change the global warming, since it's a such global scale? And this is where people start getting the wrong ideas.
If we go back a little bit, because I think also a lot of times I come across people who are very environmental, who are very concerned about global warming. And I think they're a little bit believing it almost like a religion. They're very new agey, or they're very just anti-faith, because as a person of faith, don't we believe that the world is going to end?
Yeah, maybe that's just associating a problem with a certain group. But as Isabel is saying, global warming is a global phenomenon. So it's not just one group that you should associate with it. This is something that concerns all humanity. So yeah, it might be a misunderstanding, thinking, you know, it's all New Age people, they're the only ones concerned about it. Everybody should be concerned about it, because it's to do with how the earth will function, how life on earth will be, how will it be for my children, you know, what am I leaving behind? So it's something that we've all got to be concerned about.
Yeah, well, what you're leaving behind doesn't really matter, does it? Because the world is going to end.
But we don't know when. This is the thing. If I could say the world's going to end tomorrow, all right, it doesn't really matter if I take my trash out today. All right. But I don't know. You know, it could take another 50 years. And what am I going to leave behind for my children then? And I think that's a good reason why God didn't tell us when he's coming back. Because we are supposed to look after and be doing the things that we normally do, and do it well as stewards. All the stories Jesus tends to tell about his second coming, they're associated with stewardship. He's going to come back and say, so how did you look after what I gave you? So it's back to that again. We don't know when the end of the world would be, so let's look after what we've got as best as we can now, because that shows our character and what kind of persons we are.
That's the problem. As human beings, we have a big problem. That's to keep the equilibrium. Or we are in one side, or we are in another side. So, or we don't care about global warming at all, and we think this is all part of a conspiracy, this is just marketing. However, the person thinks, but is what we say, okay, no believers for the world, the global warming, no believers. Or then we are extremely zealous about the global warming, and then it's like, okay, everything, we are totally stressed about the global warming, and we don't do anything in our lives apart thinking and focus on the global warming. So that's the two sides, and unfortunately this is part of our human race, I guess. It's very difficult to keep the equilibrium. So I think regarding to the global warming, we need to be aware of it. We need to think that is real, be aware of it, and be conscious, and to see that we have a part on it. But as well, we need to carry on with our lives. Yes, God will come one day and they say, okay, destroy the planet, but that is regarding to the sin. Actually, by that destruction, God is restructuring the planet back to the original. So we need to think that actually global warming, we are responsible, and we need to be to have our part on it.
And that leads into, you know, you mentioned about going a little bit beyond global warming, talking also about the environment, that we should look after it. But why should we? Because God is going to take care of us anyway.
Again, I think it's a matter of looking after what you've got, and actually thinking more as world citizens. It's one thing for me living in the West to think, yes, we can just take all the resources that we want to build the comfortable lifestyle that we have, and people on the other side of the world who then are suffering the consequences of our own greed. That cannot be good either. So it's showing that we have a solidarity with the whole of humankind, showing that we have a heart for other people too. And I know all of these, when they get together as world leaders talking about global warming, how much CO2 they're supposed to be releasing, etc. And of course, the developing countries are saying, but you've had your heyday. Why can't we, now that we've discovered coal, why can't we burn as much as we want to? Because you're as rich as you want to. So all of these imbalances that are around the world, we've got to start thinking, well, okay, we haven't really done a very good job with what we've done with the world's resources. It should be more evenly distributed. We have a responsibility to the whole human community.
That's the problem in nowadays. We are too selfish, and that's what probably is not helping to sort it out on as quick as we would like the global warming. As well, the global warming now, to restore what we have already damaged to the planet regarding to this subject, is going to take a long time. So this is nothing that we can, okay, let's work really hard this on 50 years and we're going to restore everything very quick. You know, we are talking about the planet equilibrium. So we managed to disturb the equilibrium of the entire planet, and now we need to restore it. To do that is going to take a long time. And people say, but why it takes a long time? So if you think just that certain gases that we are producing in large amounts, like CO2, they have a lifetime in atmosphere. The CO2 lifetime up there is about 100 years. And while, for example, another greenhouse gas like water vapor is just 9 days. You see the difference? So water vapor actually doesn't really disturb very much the planet equilibrium, but something that's going to stay up there for 100 years means we need to think about it.
Young people are very passionate about the environment and also about global warming as an issue, and tend to hold us a bit older accountable for keeping it on the agenda. Let's have a look and see what some of the younger people have to say on this subject.
I think that we should maybe not be worried about it, but we should do the best that we can to stop it increasing.
I suppose. I guess we're meant to be stewards of the earth, so yeah.
So I'm slightly skeptical to global warming, but I can see the effects of human race not being protective enough to nature, like recycling or looking after animals.
Definitely, I think we should be active about protecting the earth. I mean, the planet is God's gift to us. We should care for it. We should do everything we can to keep it in the state that it is in. Global warming is affecting all our lives, and we should definitely do something against it.
Yeah, sure, because God created the world and it is like a gift, and He asked us to take care of it.
I think we should be worried about global warming because it's our earth. God made the earth for us, so of course we should be worried about it.
You know, it's not our world. Don't take liberties, you know. It's just like general common courtesy. Live a certain way, care about certain things. Do I think that global warming is what's going to end the world? No. Because God's going to end the world.
There are so many voices out there when it comes to talking about global warming, and you see one report in the newspaper one day and another the next day, and it seems that the scientists themselves are in disagreement. Some say it's all a made-up hype, and others say it's a very real threat. How do you deal with the conflicting scientific arguments?
I don't think there is any scientist who says the global warming doesn't exist. I think all of the scientists agree, yes, it's a fact. The reason why we have these conflicts is it's because the data. Some scientists saying the data is not really as that bad as probably shows. And that's why we have these conflicts. The data is not that accurate. So some scientists, they say, yes, the global warming has arrived, we need to start taking measures as soon as possible, and all this fuss we hear about. Other scientists, they say, no, we cannot rely on this data, there is not enough data, and we need to be a bit cautious. Yes, the global warming exists, but not at those proportions.
So how do I know? I'm not a scientist. I'm just reading reports. How do I know what to believe in?
Good question. I think the global warming, and based on facts, even on the statistics, you cannot deny the Arctic is melting. You cannot deny all the recent events in terms of climate changes and all these big hurricanes and all these things. So the global warming is a fact. We need to be aware of it. and we need to take action as individuals regarding to it.
You know, yesterday I saw, it was very interesting, the weather forecast. He showed the Gulf Stream all the way from the United States and how everything underneath the Gulf Stream was very hot. And then above it, it was much cooler, and it went across the Atlantic over to where we are. And of course, we're above the Gulf Stream. So that's where it's all cool. But has it moved, the Gulf Stream?
It does move. And if we think, this is a bit more scientific, but if we think how the global warming can affect these jet streams. So if the globe start getting warmer, means the ocean water start getting warmer. And because it starts warmer, the jet stream actually flows over the water surface. So because it's warmer, it creates the airflow to go faster. And obviously because it goes faster and is warmer, pushes down the cold air down. And this is what creates the big hurricanes. So if we have hotter airflow, we're going to get a big push and big winds to compensate that rise on the temperature. And this can actually as well create the jet streams to be faster and moving across.
Okay. So are you actually saying then, that, if I'm understanding it, that global warming is partly responsible for the changing in our weather, for that we see more perhaps natural disasters, even more hurricanes, tornadoes, earthquake perhaps, and is that really all connected?
Yes, because what's happened is, if we think as a globe, people usually, they don't think that our weather actually is dependent of the ocean, let's say jet streams. So once you actually manage to alter one of these jet streams, the general climate, the general or the global weather will change in different locations. So we can get it more wet in some parts and more hotter. So we are seeing like heavy pours of rain in certain locations. And in other locations, for example, like Australia or North America, we can have the temperatures rising to 40 degrees Celsius or higher and have bigger fires. Big fires as well, they're not going to help us because actually they are heated up and producing a lot of combustion. So, you know, you are basically burning trees, which is not a good thing for global warming. So this is going to be, at the end, you have all this cycle, and it's like a snowball start getting bigger and bigger and bigger.
So apart from packing my suitcase and moving according to what weather I like the best for this year, it seems like I can't really be sure, because if it's changing and it's changing around the world, maybe we're going to be the next Australia here in England. We are, after all, another island. But Patrick, as a church, you know, as a church pastor, why should you be bothered?
Well, as I say, I think we have this stewardship responsibility that God has given us as Christians, and so we need to just show that we are taking care of God's creation in as best a manner as we can.
I know that the church that you're pastoring, they have a grass roof, so that looks very environmentally friendly. But what else can you as a church organization do? Because many people would suggest that you shouldn't be bothered. The earth is going to burn anyway, there's going to be destruction in the end, Armageddon, or however you want to describe that. Why should you, as a church, stand in front and lead people in being environmentally responsible?
Well, we do that. I mean, as I say, I think God expects us to be good stewards. And so we do different things, you know. We recycle paper, we recycle plastics. We try to do all of those things that most households are doing as well. Actually, as a church organization, we have what we call green Sabbaths, where people are encouraged to leave their cars behind and to walk to church, or to just drive part of the way and walk the rest. We're trying all kinds of ways in which we can be responsible citizens of the environment, the place we live in, for the whole planet, really. So if everybody does their part, I think much can be done that would help in this whole problem.
As a scientist, Isabel, do you think that the church pastor should involve himself with environmental issues?
Oh, I think absolutely. I think that's correct. This makes me remember a case. Once I was teaching environmental science at Newbold College, and I had the entire class very engaged in what I was saying. And one of my students just raised his hand, and he was a theology student. And he said, oh, I do believe in all this, but I think the church should be away from that. The pastors, they're supposed just to preach the gospel and not get involved in all this political, because at the end there is so much controversy. You don't know actually who is right, if we should listen scientist A or scientist B. So we just preach the gospel and we leave this with the scientists they know, and they should just live with them, and we carry on preaching the gospel. So that was a shock to the entire class, and actually to myself, because I told the student, I cannot see how you can preach the gospel and at the same time denying your responsibility regarding to environmental issues. I don't know what Patrick thinks, but was a kind of a shock. And that was one student, but I'm sure many people probably might think the same way.
Yes, I think that mentality is there. Jesus is going to return and everything's going to burn, so why bother? But again, you just can't get away from the fact that God expects us to be good stewards. And I've said it several times, but that's right there at the beginning of the Bible, how God created us. He created us as stewards. And I think he expects us to be that all the way along. You have very interesting stories like in the Bible where Jesus fed, we're told, 5,000 people. They picked up the scraps so that they could help feed other people too. You know, not being wasteful, even though he's got a lot. Even there, they're being environmentally friendly, if you like. So all the way through the Bible, you have this being good stewards, and I think God still expects that of us today.
And being good stewards or good managers of the resources we have is one thing. You know, we are living in a world that is a throwaway world. We are living in a world, at least in our part, where we have a lot. We have a lot of resources. We have access to a lot. But how can I responsibly do something to change the outcome, to not increase the damage in the environment? What can I do as a person?
Yeah, so that's a very important point, because sometimes people, they see them too small regarding to this big global thing.
Yeah, what can I as one individual do to change the whole thing? Yeah.
If the government A or B or C cannot do at the governmental level, how can I help? How can I change the entire global warming? And that's true, one person cannot change it, but one person plus another person, it makes 100 people. 100 people plus another 100 people makes 200 people, and then that's why start scaling up. I'm totally against, or at least we should not think the global warming is just the responsibility of governments. We should be individual, should be of the responsibility of each one of us, especially as a Christians. So we can do we can take a few measures, and the very simple ones, to actually help. Change the light bulbs, just recycle. At my home at the moment we have the recycle, and I'm educating my daughter to, the cardboards, the plastics, the tins and the metals. The university where I teach as well has these strong policies to educate. So if was not important at the individual level, these institutions as well will not be so care about it. It's very easy steps, actually, they can produce a very, very big impact.
So if we all do small steps, so I can recycle if I don't do it already, I can change my light bulbs. What are else some of the other measures I can take?
You can walk more.
Walk more.
If your church is not very far from where you live, you can walk. It's just a matter of get up a bit earlier. If your church is far, but you have a church member living near to you, just probably get a lift with him instead of going 3 cars to the same place, from the same place. You can actually ask, okay, can I have a lift with you? And actually it's much better than just by yourself in the car. You can straight away start your worship day with your brothers and sisters, if you think about. So you see, if you start about thinking how you can help to solve this situation, actually this as well produces a very good psychological effect in yourself.
So basically taking small steps, being intentional, thinking about how I conserve energy, how I can share more things and how I can recycle and just do my bit. If we all do that, then perhaps the global warming will diminish as a threat. Is that what you're suggesting?
Yes, because we need to be, like Patrick said before, conscious citizens. And if we teach our children not to steal, because it's a bad thing, we should teach ourselves and our children and people around us how to take care for the environment. And no one likes to live in a place full of rubbish around. We like to have our houses good looking. So the planet is our house and we need to take care of it.
Well, I want to thank both of you for taking part in today's program, and why not add your voice to the debate by joining us on our Facebook page @Faith Talks. We'd love to hear from you. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you again next time.